Hey, what is up, YouTube? We're back for a Week 2 War League match review. This week, Crow's Nest had the pleasure of going up against Bongo Boys, which is arguably the strongest team in War League, perhaps. Certainly top tier. If you look at their roster, it's just tournament tops, tournament wins, really good credentials. All these guys on their team can play. It was going to be a tough task for the Crows, but we felt we were up for it. Um, my match here was against Marcus. Marcus LOL is his Discord handle. Very good player. I think this might be the first time we've ever played, actually. But I know from last year he played a lot of Blackwing. Also played some like Prisma Machina Submarine Roid build for a bit, which is cool, and then played Vayu Turbo in the playoffs. So figured he was on one of those decks. My lean was he was probably playing Blackwings. And yeah, for this week, I'm on zombies. So without further ado, we can get right into the match. So I lose RPS, rookie mistake right there. Got to be better. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's see what we're looking at. So I open this hand with the dust shoot. Obviously, wish I was going first right off the bat, but pretty solid across the board for sure. Got some power cards and Gores and Dust Shoot. Soon we can resolve the Dust Shoot. Maybe even bait him in to an attack and drop the Gores with the Dust Shoot, something like that. He starts off with a lore, banishing Shura, summons another Shura. No turn 1 Whirlwind, which is a sigh of relief, especially after you lore and you get to see 8 cards. Definitely scary. Decent chance they find the turn 1 Whirlwind and you're just instant behind, even more so than you already are going second. Thankfully, no Whirlwind in his opener. Just goes with Shura, set 2, and passes. Here, I elect to just set the Dust Shoot and pass. I don't really want to trade my Turtle and Dust Shoot for an Icarus attack, especially if he has like a Blizzard follow-up, as well as if I just set the Turtle, then this Dust Shoot's going to be dead, and it lets his Shura get value. He can potentially get a value or like negated Gale into play for free, and then Icarus attack me. So I thought just setting the Dust Shoot was good. Gives me a chance to drop Gores, and then instead of waiting for the attack, I do just in standby phase fire it while he has 4. Don't want to risk him. If one of these are like Solemn or Starlight Road, don't want him summoning another monster and pressing in, and all of a sudden my Dust Shoot's dead. So we go ahead and fire it. So now that we have the info, we can go ahead and show his hand. We see a handful of birds in a prison, and then pretty sure we opt to take the Kalut here because if we do that, then he has no clean way of clearing the Gores. So that's what we do, put back the Kalut. And then here he chooses to summon another Shura, get aggressive, understandably so. On the first one, we do drop the Gores, which forces an Icarus attack, which is pretty fine by us. Our 1 Gores traded for a Shura and an Icarus attack, 2 real threats, at the expense of some damage, but we take that. We're essentially back up on cards after that exchange. We have full info to the Dust Shoot, so pretty good way to stabilize there. And then we rip the Heavy Storm off the top, which is quite the draw. So obviously we're just going to go ahead and fire that. And he does have the Solemn Judgment, so we don't get that 2 for 1, but we do get a fat 4k damage in, which is very nice. And then, so we know his Sirocco in hand, and deprison set. So here I'm pretty sure I opt to go with the Summon Gale and have his Shura, and then I choose not to attack into the deprison, because like if he wants to tribute the Sirocco over the Shura to get over the Gale, that's fine by me, because that's like a 1-for-1 trade. And if I have it now and he doesn't draw into a Blackwing that he can summon alongside his Shura or like a Clute or something, then we can potentially just like summon an additional monster with the Turtle and run over the halved Shura the next turn. At least that's what was my thinking. There's definitely an argument to be made for just like getting the prison out of the way now too. But yeah, that's what I opt to do. Not sure if that was right or not. And I set the compulse for a backup plan in case he draws a Blizzard, want to have some way to answer the extra deck monster, you know? So then here he draws a Bora. Yeah. I opt to just let this go. No, like, whether I compulse or not, I'm losing a card either way. I think this is fine. You know, Turtle stabilizes into this. The Shura can't run over the Turtle for value. And then Bora lets me float into like my Goblin Zombie, so that's completely fine by me. So we'll opt to just let this go and chill. We draw into a Dust Tornado. And then here, pretty easy play of set Turtle, set Dust Tornado. We want to make sure we're hitting Whirlwind or any back row he draws. And then, yeah, here he draws Legacy, sets it. I go ahead and end phase, hit that in case it's Icarus or something scary. Just want to only have to deal with the D Prison, and then we draw into return. Okay, so yeah, here. So we know all his cards, right? We know there's Prison, Sirocco in hand. So because we know it's Prison, I am going to choose to go into a Thought Ruler play. Also, so based on what he's seen so far, he hasn't really given away too much. This could easily be like Vayu Turbo, for instance, but I think Zombies is what I played primarily last season, so I think that's probably what they're expecting, and that's why he chose not to swing in with the Bora, which I think is a heads-up play, because it's more likely to be a Turtle or a Tomato than it is a Goblin Zombie, so you don't want to risk putting a Goblin Zombie in play to start my turn. So I think that's a heads-up play by Marcus, assuming I'm on Zombies, which I am. So then here we just go for the Diva into Gaia Knight into Thought Ruler play. Choose to hit the Bora. That way, if he draws into a Kalut, he can't clear my guy, because that's still not big enough with the Shura being halved the way it is. So yeah, just go ahead and clear the bigger monster while we can and gain some life points. So feeling pretty reasonable at the spot. Set the return just in case. I'm not sure if I needed to do that, because I don't know how my cards are really getting banished unless I... Well, actually, no, I remember. It's in case he uses the D Prison. I could potentially like just return it back for lethal or something, which is why I decided to set it. Yeah, so here he summons Sirocco, just enter battle phase and pass. So he's clearly bluffing Kalut here, which I have not seen a Kalut, and he holds a card in hand, so I think it's a pretty heads-up play by him. Essentially, like, bluffing Kalut and then going to battle phase and choosing not to attack, showing that he's respecting the odds of me having a battle trap, which is also pretty likely considering he hasn't seen one. So he's basically showing, like, I have Kalut and I don't want to risk losing this monster into a prison. He doesn't actually have Kalut, so heads up bluff by him. I consider whether he's bluffing it or not and if I should swing, but if I do and eat the Kalut, then all of a sudden I'm in a bad spot, and I don't think he's planning on attacking because he didn't last turn. So yeah, I think I just opt to pass here. So his bluff does work, buys him a turn. And then he draws into Vayu, which, you know, not the best card for him, but he does have Sirocco to turn into an Armdling later, and it does let him go for this play here, which is summon the Vayu and then attempt to Sirocco pump the Vayu, which is smart, because that means he chooses this one because that's the one he'd rather get hit with a D Prison or something. I opt to, on the effect, compulse here. This way the Vayu doesn't get the boost, because I ideally want to compulse the Sirocco and not the Vayu, because we want to be able to run over here for a bunch of damage, as well as it plays around the suspected Kalut in his hand, because one Kalut only puts him up to 2200, it's not big enough to get over Thought Ruler. So we do that there, pick up the MST, we don't fire it because we know this is Prison, and Prison doesn't do anything to Thought Ruler. So we kill the Vayu, set one, and then we're feeling pretty alright with this spot. He does pick up Dark Armed, which is scary, but thankfully we have this guy, which is nice Dark Armed insurance when you have some darks in your graveyard yourself. So then Here he summons and attacks, asks for damage. I'm like, okay, sure, I don't got anything. If you clute me is what it is. Just lets it die, and at this point I'm like, oh, okay, this is clearly telegraphing a Dark Armed, but nothing I can really do about it. We'll be fine with Mind Control, lets us pop the Prison and the Dark Armed, as well as if we draw any normal summon in our deck alongside this, then we just have lethal. Even a drawn Plague Spreader gets us there, because he's at 400. So he does this main phase 2, and then we do thankfully draw a normal summon, so we can just go ahead, Mind Control the Dad, pop his thing, summon the Tomato, and take a Nailbiter of a game 1. So losing the die roll against Blackwings was a tough matchup, and then winning game 1 was about as good as we could have hoped for it to go. So feeling pretty reasonable, but game 2 and 3 against Blackwings are very tough from zombie side. I think it's like probably my hardest matchup of the meta decks, because I'll go ahead and only show my hand, but yeah. These games you have to worry about deck devastation virus, as well as they're going to go up to max copies of Royal Oppression, assuming they don't main 2, which most lists don't these days. So gotta be really careful of trap cards post board, and obviously, you know, they usually bring in like DD Crows too or something, which is annoying, not the worst. Definitely more scared of the oppression and deck dev type stuff. So again, no turn 1 Whirlwind for us, which is nice. He just goes with set 1 pass. However, it is a dust shoot, so like, not the best. Yeah. And then here, he takes a look and chooses to send back my Caius. Understandable, because it turns off the Allure, which then in turn turns off the Return from the Different Dimension. So, yep, there goes the Caius. And then from here, we could just set Prison to, you know, trade with a Boar or Sure or something if he wants to pressure with that. I choose to and hold the card Trooper. I choose to summon the Trooper and get in for 1900 points of damage while we can. Getting in the early chip damage as zombies is really nice, because killing from 8k is hard. Killing from 6k is much more easy later on in the game. So as well as just like getting us in play gives me damage, and then gives me another draw, which we can potentially use to get this Allure back live, which in turn gets the return live. So yeah, I think it's worth getting it in play, and banking on drawing another monster off the 2 cards to follow it up. Then we set Prison, because we don't want this getting Shured. And then here he summons Value, understandable, into a known Prison, that he would not commit a higher value monster. I debate whether I want to Prison this and try to get in for more damage with the card Trooper. And I opt to hold the Prison. Yeah, I opt to hold the Prison for something scarier, and I'm hoping with the 2 draws I get, 1 for turn, 1 off Trooper, I can just draw a Recruiter or something that can beat over the value, as opposed to needing to expend a Prison on it. So that's what I opt to do, hoping to find a Dark for this Allure too. Pick up Diva, not too helpful yet. And he goes with the set 2 into a known Heavy Storm, so I know he probably has a stop, or just feels comfortable enough setting the 2, knowing that one of my back row is Prison. And then we draw into the second Diva, which is classic. This has been happening to me a lot lately. Yeah, the odds of drawing 2 Divas aren't that high. I only play the 2, I don't play a third or a Gilman or whatever. So when you open both, it's unfortunately just a level 2 vanilla tuner. So yeah, drawing both as my next 2 cards pretty rough. Didn't find the Dark for the Allure, didn't find something to pressure to kill over this value, so instead I think we just chill here, yeah. And here he does find a Whirlwind, at least it's only a Kalute, but he does get to search a Blizzard here, which is pretty good. And then pokes again with the value, choose to hold the Prison again, and then I don't think he attacks with the Kalute, nope, does not. And then what do we find? We find a Gores, which means we can finally activate this Allure. So we figure he has a stop for the Heavy Storm, but in case he doesn't, I mean, we have to play the card. And if he doesn't, then that's great. Clears up our own back row to be able to drop the Gores potentially. If we have to Allure it away, then we got return set up, etc., etc. So we fire the Allure first. Draw into 2 Darks actually. Choose to banish the Reaper because this Tomato crashing into the Kalute is potentially great after this storm potentially resolves. Fire the Storm, he does have the Judgment. He threw me off here with just like sending the Judgment to graveyard and then like paying the life points after. So I just like, I saw a card hit the grave, was like, okay, I guess this is resolving, and put my prison into grave, but he was activating it once I saw the life points go down. He did already know about this from Dust Shoot, but he didn't know for sure which one I had said, I guess, and I that's on me to clarify that it's resolving instead of just like assuming. Although, yeah, it's understandable because he didn't like activate the card; he just like put it in graveyard, which is like what threw me off there. But yeah, so anyway, he judgments that. Summon the tomato. I'm gonna try to go for this crash, which does walk, surprisingly. So at that point, we know if he had a battle trap, he probably would have used it, and if he had an Icarus attack, he probably would have used it. So we know it's not either of those. So at this point, I'm thinking it's likely a bottomless, because we haven't summoned anything that's bigger than 1500 yet. So we go into Goblin, beat over, which is nice, and then the Goblin mills Brain Control, which is also nice. I'll love not having to worry about this card. If we could mill Dad off the Goblin for the next time around, that would be also appreciated, but yeah. Pumped to see the Brain Control gone. We still don't have an answer to a summon for this Whirlwind, though, which is a bit of a bummer, because I think he does draw into, yeah, he draws into Sirocco, so he does get another search off here, which is annoying. Yep, that's pretty good too, because he has the value in grave, so now he can go to Synchro with Armed Wing follow up, so pretty strong. So Searches Gale goes for the Synchro, goes for that. We prison here because he knows about the prison. If we hold it, he's just not going to attack the Stardust, so we just get that off the board while we can. And then, yep, he kills that, and then I choose to search Mizuki here, yeah. Reason being is, I'm thinking next turn we set the Mizuki, get it in grave, and can revive the Goblin Zombie to go along with one of these divas, and then so I'm thinking that his set's a bottomless at this point, so I'm thinking we could do that, and then if he bottomlesses my Brio, we can return it. We can return back the Mizuki, the Reaper, and the Brio, and then go for game from there. So that was my game plan anyway. So we draw into a prison, and then, yeah, with still no way to answer the Whirlwind, I decide to go for that line, like I'm saying, for lethal through a bottomless next turn, and not worrying about dropping the Gores. I'm just going to go ahead and set my Mizuki, set my return, and prison, and just pray that I get there next turn, because I feel like the longer I let this go, while it's getting Whirlwind searches, it's only going to get uglier for me, so choose to go with this approach. So it does summon the Blizzard that we know about, which is fine. This doesn't really do anything. We let that beat over the Mizuki. Then we attempt to prison the Stardust, and he chains MST. And I wasn't... Yeah. Again, this is... And I just, like, instinctually put it to graveyard. I need to, like, wait there. I gave him extra info, basically. Because he was planning on, negating his own MST with his Stardust Dragon to dodge the prison, which is understandable. Like, in the moment, I was just like, okay, he's MSTing it because he suspects its return, but that's not actually what he was doing, so I just, like, gave him additional info, which, you know, again, that's on me. I gotta clarify with my opponent on these chain links and make sure that I'm not just giving them extra info. Yep. So then he has no additional back row for me, so I'm like, okay, we have a chance. Go for the Mizuki Goblin, he crows, I'm like, okay, my return just got juicier. So I activate, and then it's actually Oppression and not Bottomless, which also makes sense, and yeah, if I was considering that, maybe holding the return for another turn and trying to drop Gores first would have been better. Like, maybe I got a little impatient there and should have been reading Oppression a little harder. But yeah, at this point, that's just going to be GG. We just, like, Desperation set a Diva, being at 24-25, just hoping that for whatever reason he swings with the Stardust first and then hits with Android, we can then drop the Gores, but yeah, once he swings in with the Android, we just go ahead and scoop it up. So yeah, that was game 2. I'm not sure if I would have got there if I chose to attempt to get the Gores in play first or not. With that Whirlwind being up and unanswered, and then him having the oppression for when I did finally go for the return play. But yeah, something to consider. I mean, if that did end up being a bottomless and we cheesed out lethal with the returning back of Brionic, that would have looked pretty smart. So yeah, I'm like reasonably okay with how I played that one. So now going into game 3, we finally get to go first and open a pretty solid hand. No outs to a Whirlwind, no Dust Tornado or Bottomless, which is a little spooky. But I do opt to just hope he doesn't have it and just set the turtle, set the prison. If he swings in with a Shura, we probably just prison that because we don't want him getting the search. If he swings in with anything else, we probably just let that go and then try to do a Goblin plus Caius play. Yeah, so pretty standard zombie opening there. So he MSTs, and at this point I'm like, uh-oh, here comes the Whirlwind, but he doesn't have it. He instead goes for a T-set. So he goes for MST, then T-set. And at this point, I'm trying to figure out what his motives were. So if it was an Icarus attack, I don't think he MSTs because he wants me to have 2 cards in play to Icarus. So I'm thinking this might be a set Vayu this might be like a set Vayu or like set Kalut with a Blizzard in hand type of thing for me to like flip up my turtle, attack in, and then he can summon his Blizzard, go into Catastrophe to kill my turtle in the following turn, or trying to like bait me to swing in and then just like prison my recruiter. That's the conclusion in the moment I ended up on, and I definitely should have considered what it actually ended up being, which is a set Sirocco with a set deck dev behind it. You can attribute set monsters for deck devastation virus, so had I considered that in the range of potential outcomes, I think I probably should have just summoned this Caius straight away to hedge my bets against deck dev. It's going to hurt regardless, hitting 2 in my hand here and then getting to see additional draws. But I ended up deciding to just allure first to get max info before I decide my play. But that ends up coming back to bite me because he changed the deck dev. So now I know I'm in big trouble because I know he's getting a 3 for 2, and then if this allure plus my next 2 draws draw me into additional small cards, like he could just get a 4 for 2 and just kind of blow me out from there. So at this point I know I'm in trouble. If I Caius and he changed deck dev, he still essentially gets a 3 for 2, hits 2 cards out of hand, and then the Caius effect doesn't do anything, so it essentially still kills my turtle. So, but at that point, I at least get to hold the allure, which lets him see 2 less draws, potentially, if I draw into a dark. So, yeah, definitely had a little bit of regrets firing the allure right away. Thankfully, we draw into Torrential Caius, so we don't actually give him more pluses right off the bat. Banish a Caius, and then, yeah, here just go ahead and fire the Book of Life, getting the turtle in play, banishing the Roko. I want to do that before he has a chance to draw into Oppression or Crows, and yeah, Blackwings have a tough time getting rid of recruiters, especially when they can't Icarus attack it when it's my only card on field, and they've already used their deck devastation virus. So yeah, it felt pretty good just getting this chip damage in, and then setting up potential Caius later on. So he thinks for a bit here, and then goes with Summon Shura, Summon Bora, hits with the Shura. And the way this works is because he's turn player and both effects are optional, his is Chainlink 1, then mine activates his Chainlink 2, so resolve the chain backwards. Mine resolves first, so he gets to see what I summon before he gets to decide what he summons. So here, I know his options are Vayu, Gale, and Kalut. I feel Vayu is the most likely, especially if I float into another turtle here, he just stops attacking and then probably sinks off a Vayu and Bora for Catastor, which then threatens my turtle the next turn. I do have Caius to answer it, but that's like a line he could do. He could also just like summon another monster and chill, just so he has like, especially if he has a Kalute in hand. But what I opt to do is I opt to, instead of going into another turtle or goblin zombie, I opt to go for Mizuki, because that way I can potentially crash with this Bora will also set up my Caius for the following turn. And because I'm kind of like behind tempo here, that's what I opt to do. I feel reasonably okay with that decision, because I think like going for yeah, because this is way better to tribute than Pyramid Turtle. So it's essentially a +1 since it has value in Graveyard. So I feel better about going into Mizuki than I do Turtle. And then if I go for Goblin Zombie and then to search something like the Mizuki, that requires me to use my normal summon on the Mizuki next turn, which could potentially get bottomless or like deprisoned or something, and then doesn't let me Caius. So yeah, I think going directly for the Mizuki is fine. And he does end up crashing, so like I said, we get to trade with that, and then I'm hoping that we can just like Mizuki back Turtle and then clear both his monsters with the Caius and we'll be okay. So then this is turn 2 of deck dev, so he gets to see one more draw after that, and we draw into Heavy Storm, which is great, because I'm like, okay, sweet, we get to Heavy Storm, clear the back row, and then this Caius can banish the Shura, beat over the Gale. Even if his last card's a Kalute, then he keeps the Gale, then he has like Gale and no other cards against my Torrential, and if it's not Kalute, then we have Caius and Torrential against one card in hand for him drawing to 2, so then we're feeling pretty good about being back in it. However, his set is Compulse, which is pretty annoying for us, because now he turns that negated Gale into a real one in his hand, which can then kill the Caius, so that was like a really annoying exchange, actually. And then here, so this is my graveyard. Here I debate what I want to do for a bit, and then I don't like what I end up deciding on. I decide on just Mizukiing back the Turtle, tributing for Caius, getting in for 3,400 total damage, but I think what I should have done is bring back the Turtle and then crash it into the Shura, and get a Goblin Zombie out of deck, and then he searches something. Whether he searches Vayu or Kalute doesn't really matter. It's not that impactful of a card. And then if it's a Vayu, we can actually just beat over it with the Goblin Zombie, and then main phase 2 tribute for Caius, and then get a search. If he goes for the Kalute, then whatever, we just main phase 2, summon the Caius over the Goblin Zombie, banish this, and then he has a Kalute, but we get a search. So I think a Kalute in play for him versus a search for me is a pretty worthwhile trade for a couple reasons. One, I have Plague in Graveyard, so if I tribute Goblin Zombie, search another Goblin Zombie, then the following turn I can stack what I draw for Plague, summon Goblin, make a Synchro, and then get another search, so it kind of like keeps my train rolling for follow-up plays, as well as crashing in the Turtle for Goblin Search. Goblin gets both Goblin Zombies out of deck, which are 2 draws that we don't want to have into the Deck Devastation virus, which the last turn of it is next turn. So I need to dodge one more turn of draws there. So yeah, I think crashing in the Turtle, even though it gives him a search, it gives me a search, and then I think is better for like setting me up for follow-up plays. So I do believe it was better in hindsight to have done that, even if it is kind of counterintuitive to like crash a monster into a Shura, which like gives him an immediate plus. But yeah, anyway, we go with this play and then just set the Torrential. At least we know from here that he can't really summon multiple monsters because he knows about the Torrential, so he's just gonna like poke with the Gale for a while. So we're hoping we can just find something to get ourselves back into this while protected by the Torrential. So then this next draw is the last one of Deck Devastation virus, and lo and behold, we draw a Goblin Zombie, which, had I gotten them out of deck, we wouldn't have drawn that one. Who's to say if we would have drawn a different deck dev target? But yeah, I would have reduced my odds of drawing a target by 2 out of whatever amount were left in deck. But yeah, unfortunately, it does hit the Goblin Zombie, which hurts. So he ends up going 4 for 2 off the deck dev, which, I mean, when Blackwing's a super strong deck and it's getting +2s on you like that, it's going to be tough to come back. However, we draw a Dark Armed for turn with 1, 2, 3 Darks in grave. So we're like, okay, we have a chance. However, I opt to not fire it right away because I feel like he might be holding monsters in hand because of the known Torrential, which could potentially clear the Dark Armed if he has like a Blizzard play or like a Kalute play or something, and it makes it like awkward with like the Torrential can't really protect my Dark Armed, as well as he's at 3,400. So if I wait another turn and then draw into any normal summon, we can hope the Dark Armed plus a normal summon just kills. And we know he's not gonna like pressure anymore really into the Torrential, so I feel like I'm okay to wait a turn without dying. So that's what I opt to do. I opt to just pass here, and yeah, hope to draw either a normal summon or my Mystical Space Typhoon for the back row to ensure the dad goes through. Was what I was thinking for my draws. Yeah. So then, again, he doesn't summon anything more into the Torrential and just passes. We draw into Bottomless, so not MST or a normal summon like we were hoping. But at this point, we're getting too low, so we have to just go ahead and fire the Dark Armed Dragon. Also want to do it before he has a chance to draw Royal Oppression or some other stop for it. He does have the stop for it though in Solemn Judgment, so we don't even. It's not even a Bottomless or something where we can get the 2 for 1. He just says no, and unfortunately the dad does not block. And then we just pass here. The Bottomless is like redundant. We already have a Summon Trap in play, and we want to save a card in hand in case we draw into a level 4 to make a Synchro play with the Plague Spreader. So that's why we hold that. However, he just swings in, and then he does have he only needed 2 Kalutes, but he showed all 3 for the camera to squeeze in lethal. And that was my War League match. So yeah, the biggest thing I think was game 3. If I crash in that turtle to give myself a search, which then gives me a synchro play the following turn, I might have been able to squeak in lethal there somewhere. It would have been tough, and I don't know what I would have drawn as my last card with a shuffled deck and 2 Goblin Zombies out of deck. So like, it's tough to really say for sure, but I do think in hindsight that was the better play. So unfortunately I do lose, and I have something to learn from there. Marcus is a very good player, and Blackwing is a tough matchup, so it was always going to be a tough battle. And I do lose that one 2-1. And then if you're wondering how the Crows did in our match and are doing so far in the year, the answer is not the best. We have dropped to, as of recording this, Corinna just finished her match. She lost to Phil. And we are unfortunately 0-2 in overall season record, and you can see by this match differential, we are in last place. We have gone 0-10 in actual matches of Yu-Gi-Oh! So far in War League, which is pretty wild, and something I don't expect to continue, but it's pretty funny. We definitely could have played better. We've also gotten a little bit unlucky on top of it. As you can tell from the first 2 reviews, you know, I definitely haven't played perfect myself. So I think we have a very good team at Crow's Nest, and it's something we can't bounce back from. And I look forward to making this a storybook comeback after an 0-10 start. I think we're going to make a run at the playoffs. Call me crazy. It's a long season, still 13 weeks left. I think we're going to go 13-2. Heard it here first. But anyways, that's the replay review. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.